Hello everyone, Dave here. I just thought I'd quickly run down what my methodology is when approaching macro annotations, because it seems there's a lot of confusion on how to actually write them and what mindset you need to have going into it. So for this example, we're just going to be writing the app macro annotation. It's basically the simplest thing you can do, or one of the simplest things you can do. So it tends to be a really good hello world example almost for macro programming. So we're gonna use our annotation here, and notice that we already have an annotation defined using the schematic, and then we have a test as well. The test requires an initial, an expected, and a transformed input, and then we make sure that the transformed is the expected. So the initial is like our input, the expected is what would expect the transformation to do, and the transformed is like after transformation what the initial looks like. So the first thing we're going to do is actually legitimately copy this, and we're going to do this for one reason. We want to know that what we're outputting is correct. So we don't want to write macro code before we know what we want to output, and before we know what we want to output is actually going to be correct code. So as you can see, this is our main method, this is our output. The next thing we're going to do is we're just going to wrap this with quasi quotes. And there we go. And the next thing we're going to do is go into here, and it's our expected, so there we go. Nice pasting, IntelliJ. Alright. And then we're going to grab our original input, and we're going to do the same thing. So we have quasi quotes. Alright. So there we go. There's our input and output. Now what about our transformed? The easiest way to do this is just to write a method and a companion class. So that makes it completely testable. You can run it independently, and you can even run it not as a macro. So you could iterate over all the files in a directory and run this. It doesn't really matter. You can expand the macros yourself. It's quite funny. So what we need to do is we need to call app.transform and with the initial object. And then we need to go in here, create our object app, and we need to create this method, transform, if I could spell, and then we take an object as an input, and we return an object as an output. And this is just going to basically, first we need our method, our main method, and the next thing we're going to need to do is return the transformed object. So we'll leave the main method for now, but what we'll do is we'll just mimic the return, and we're going to use a new method in contrib called withStats. So it's as easy as this, object.withStats, main method nil. And if we go in here and make this a def_end.object, that will type check. So what this is doing is it's replacing the body of the object with a new body, you could say. And how we're going to do the main method is we're literally just going to do it the easy way and quasi quote it. But what goes in here? This is not an object. This is a def_end.def. What we're actually going to do in here is we are going to need some stats. So it's like this, except what are our statements, and we're going to use contrib again for doing this. And we're going to just extract those stats really easily like that. And we're done. So hopefully these tests will pass. in theory. And our test pass. Okay, now for the hard part. No, it's the easy part. We don't actually want to write a test for this. You sort of can't. You can, but it's complicated. It's not worth it. And you just want to make it as small as possible. So this inline def apply method needs to be as small as humanly possible so that we can not have to really worry about testing it. And the first thing we're going to do is check for an object. Oh, and if we have an object, we want to transform things. So we want to transform the object. And if we have anything else, we just want to abort the macro expansion. And we're just going to say must annotate defn.def, for example. And that's defn.object. And that's it. Now, if we run our main method, it will work, even though IntelliJ complains because it can't find it. And if we use the macro annotation expansion, it can now find it. So yeah, that's in a nutshell how to approach metaprogramming and macro programming. Thanks.